Hi, I'm Phil.
And I'm Kate.
And this is The Underground, the official podcast partner of Glee 2024. So without further ado,
let's get down and dirty.
And we're delighted to be joined on this Floral Thursday by David Denny, the Director of Research and Insights from the HTA. Welcome, David.
Afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Now, if we just start with a really easy one, so could you just give us a bit of an overview of what your role entails at the HTA?
Yep, happy to. So I lead several teams in the HTA.
Okay.
As the job title suggests, it's largely on the research and insight side of things, but that's quite a wide range. We look at consumer and market trends, really to help our members with their business planning. We provide a lot of the data that we use into government, and increasingly we're getting involved in more and more scientific R&D to really help the industry become more productive, more sustainable. And as well as that, we look after the business unit Association of Professional Landscapers. So it's a mixed bag and a really interesting bag, really.
Right, okay.
So who's the data available to?
It's available to all HTA members on request. We push a lot of that out there. Regular things like market updates, which will give you a view every month on the state of trade in garden centres. But we also run a set of benchmarking exercises. That could be anything on kind of key staff wage metrics, use of water, all of those different sorts of things.
Okay, so this is the HTA. So are you primarily concerned with the growers, the people who are growing stuff, the nurseries
growing
and that sort of
stuff.
thing? Okay, well, as a non-gardener, who are growing plants, are they? Is that what we're talking about?
It's a core focus, but it's one of many. We've got about 1,300 members, and uniquely for a trade association, they go all the way through the supply chain. So we do have commercial growers in membership, but we also have around 700 retailers. That ranges from garden centres, DIY stores. I mentioned landscapers as well, and we've also got a range of garden manufacturers, and that can be anything from tools to furniture to ferts.
Okay, got you. So what innovations are there that are affecting how shoppers engage with gardening?
Well, I think there's a huge amount as innovations in product composition. So sustainability is a real driver for consumer choice, for operations, etc. So we're seeing quite a lot of innovation around the kind of composition, the use of raw materials and packaging. A lot of kind of listeners will be aware of extended producer responsibilities that are coming in, and so we're seeing a lot of businesses respond to that by reducing the amount of packaging, the renewability, recyclability of it.
Okay. So for those people who aren't aware of what that is, could you just explain a little bit more about the extended responsibility scheme or whatever it was?
No, that's absolutely fine.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Long day.
It's an initiative that's coming in from the government, and it's really focused on packaging waste. And the overall aim of it is to, I suppose, raise funds to reinvest in the recycling infrastructure of the country. And the principle of that is that the polluter pays, as it were.
Right.
So it's already come into force and is requiring a wider range of businesses to record and report the tonnage and type of packaging that they use, and it will ultimately involve fees being paid.
So like a plastic tax, is that kind of thing?
It's along that sort of lines.
Right.
The plastic tax might be in the same family, but it's two different things, and it applies to all types of material, not just plastics.
Okay. So how have you been finding that businesses within the garden sector, which are traditionally maybe a little bit older-fashioned than some others, are harnessing technology?
I'll challenge the view that they're traditionally old-fashioned. The presentation this morning shows that they were way ahead of the curve. We put a slide up 2012, and it was garden centres with the websites were among the first to embrace digital to get consumers in. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've actually seen the garden centres at the forefront of that type of innovation. They're increasingly looking at social media as a way of engaging customers. Now that of course can be on promotion, but also customer service interactions. And there's a wide range of things that the garden centres are doing around that.
No, that's good to hear.
Yeah, so do you get involved in sort of looking at different technologies and advising or giving insights into how those work?
Yeah, we can do, and it ranges the span of the supply chain. So, give you a very good example. We are running a Future Grow event in a few weeks' time, and that's really looking at artificial intelligence and robotics in plants.
Right.
So, we have a package on display there that will literally go through the fields using artificial intelligence to recognise weeds, and rather than application of pesticides, it will eliminate those weeds with a burst of intense light. So,
oh my goodness.
Sustainability.
So like a robot type thing.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So absolutely incredible to see huge innovations and really supporting greater sustainability in the plants that we see on the shelves.
Right.
Gosh.
And that's not just a gimmick. That's something which is going to go into production.
Is it used kind of in crops already?
It is, yeah. It's got a background in agriculture, so field-based crops, but the fundamentals of it can be transferred over into ornamental horticulture, field produced, but potentially also in glasshouse production as well.
Goodness.
Wow, that's amazing. So how could a company, or would a company, use the information that you supply to help improve their business?
A lot of it's around business planning. So taking benchmarking reports, for example, one of the things at sales benchmarking level that a business can do is they can see how their performance is stacking up with businesses of similar size in a similar region, and start to ask those questions. So if I'm up compared with everyone else, what am I doing right? If everyone else is up and I'm down, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And of course, we put that together with business networking so that people can help each other answer those questions.
Yeah.
So what are some of the opportunities that our audience can take advantage of that you give them?
Well, I think the biggest opportunity is to keep innovating for those 30 million gardeners out there. So, I mean, and it's sometimes easy to lose sight of the fact that it is a huge market with huge diversity. What we saw on the back of COVID was around 3 million new gardeners come into the market, and of course, to some extent, that has kind of fallen away because other leisure pursuits are there. But there's a huge opportunity to engage those younger, those newer gardeners, and to innovate around different formats. So one of the trends that we track is garden size and home ownership. So solutions for those younger gardeners, and by younger I essentially mean under 45 around that, for solutions that can fit into a rented garden, that can move from house to house, patio gardening. So we're seeing a lot of innovation and opportunity around those different areas.
Okay. So with any of these sort of data analyst type things, the data is only as good as the data, or the output is only as good as the data that you're capturing.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Whereabouts do you get the data from to be able to give these insights?
We get it from multiple sources. So the way to look at a lot of our data is we build it from the bottom up and the top down. So from the bottom up, we would collect data on sales or business performance from our members. So what have their sales been this month? We've got a number of systems to record.
That's like an EPOS.
That's a very good example. Yeah, we have one system where the EPOS data comes into an aggregated garden retail monitor, and we provide those averages. But we also cross-reference that with some of the top-down data where we run consumer surveys and ask people to report, for example, how often they visit garden centres, what are they spending on, and what we tend to do is compare the two. Are they giving the same sort of picture? Are they coming to the same sort of answers? So there's quite a lot of quality control goes on around it.
Okay.
So you're able to predict trends as well with this data?
Yeah, you can predict some of those trends. The most simple one, of course, is the sun shines.
Yep.
So sales will go up. But there are other trends that you can get into around that. So you could look at some of the longer term trends, some of the sort of macro side of things, that greater consumer desire for sustainability.
Right.
And what you can anticipate around that is changed consumer choices, changed consumer preferences. So some of the people in my team last year did a report onto the value of plants. And one of the things that showed was that consumers increasingly attaching value to plants that have been produced in a biosecure way.
Oh, okay.
So that's something where consumer awareness is probably going to increase, where there is a kind of societal need for that. So we would anticipate that trend that I suppose responsible production is absolutely critical for the industry, but very probably is going to enter the consumer consciousness in the coming years.
Yeah, interesting. So you mentioned earlier about AI being literally used out in the field, which I quite like. Are you using AI as part of your data analysis, or are you either currently, or are you sort of looking at that as something maybe you might use in the future?
No, both. We are using it, and we're also looking at how we might make more use of it.
Right.
So to give you an example, a lot of your listeners will be familiar with the National Garden Gift Card Scheme that we run. You would not believe the amount of analysis and choice and agonising that goes into the choice of designs on those cards. Really? Everyone's got their favourites. And one of the things that we did the first time this year was run some consumer research that was mediated by an AI. So 20 consumers in the demographic for purchase were given different sets of possible new designs, and they were interviewed by the AI. Of course, they knew this was going on. There's all sorts of research ethics that was happening. And that really helped us slash a traditional market research project, which might have taken, 4 to 6 weeks, down to 48 hours and about a tenth of the cost. And we didn't let the AI run wild. We did a kind of traditional survey just to calibrate the results. Very similar answers. So we're starting to use that, and there's far more potential in terms of generative AI, and some of the big data analysis.
Yes, I can imagine. Being able to use that to help some of the algorithms that you use to come up with those insights and the data that you've got.
Absolutely, and it's those deeper insights. So yes, at one level, we analyse the EPOS data and we'll tell whether sales are up or down. Where it gets a lot more powerful is looking at those sorts of trends in linked sales. To give one example, we've been able to use that data to speak to government around the transition to peat.
Peat-free.
Peat-free. Oh, goodness me, of course. Well done, well spotted. But that gives that big data and looks at what are the categories may well be impacted in the basket around that. Ferts, pots for the plants to go into. So it builds up that big insight about how the whole system works together.
Are you a data analyst by trade, or is it?
Yeah, I am. Started off in market research in a completely different industry, educational IT, but yes, market research by training.
And have you been with the HTA for long?
Been about 14 years now.
I'd say that's quite long. So this probably isn't your first visit to Glee then?
No, it's not. Something regular.
So how are you finding it this year, and what kind of conversations are you having with people?
There's been a real buzz about it, I think.
That's what everybody says.
Yes, yeah. So I think we've kind of come off the back of COVID, where all of a sudden we didn't have our trade shows, and of course there's not quite the first excitement of everyone being able to meet each other, but I think that has been carried through. And what I've kind of picked up from Glee today is just a huge amount of excitement about being able to kind of meet peers, meet colleagues in the industry, see and get excited about what's coming up for next season. New products, new concepts, sharing of insights. So I'd say, it's been a tough season. There's been no doubt about it.
Really tough, yeah.
But I think that kind of cautious optimism for next year as well is coming through.
Great. Have you had a chance to look around the show at all, or?
I've had a little bit of a look, but I think one of the beauties of shows like this is you never quite see it all. You'll pick up with someone afterwards and say, "Did you see this?" And it's like, what was it like? So I think the kind of the after effects of Glee are still to come. It'd be good.
Yeah. Did anything catch your eye while you were looking around?
Yes, is the short answer. Huge amounts of things. There is particularly innovative piece. One of the things that we know is a challenge for gardeners at the moment is irrigating plants with peat-free and peat-reduced mixes. Really interesting, simple device that you just pop into it.
Could that be the
exactly that one? Yes.
We've been talking to Steve Harper.
Okay, but
really interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
And one of the things as a researcher you look for is what you call really elegant solutions to complex problems.
Simple solutions. Yeah.
So yes, that caught my eye, but by no means the only thing. There's such a lot of innovation in this industry. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Well, do you know what? I think we have rattled through that, but I think we've pretty much covered everything that we wanted to talk to you about. Is there anything else that you feel that our listeners might want to know at the moment, or did that cover most of the things that you talked about in the talk that you gave?
Yeah, I think that covered most of the things in the talk. But if there's any other questions on market research data, anything that
comes up,
listeners want to know, then very happy to talk to them always.
Wonderful.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much, David, for joining us today, and good luck with the rest of the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.